ஹலோ சார்.
ஹலோ, நல்லா தெரியுதா?
நல்லா தெரியுது.
இதே அளவில் இருக்கட்டும், நல்ல நல்ல சத்தமும் நல்லா கேட்கும்.
அப்படியே இருக்கட்டும், அப்படியே இருக்கட்டும்.
ஓகே,
சரி, நம்ம ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணலாம்.
This 27th July 2020 will be 5 years after Dr. Abdul Kalam left us. We couldn't still believe. 5 years, even now, his memories are fresh and alive. I am sure for so many people, in which I am also one of them. But if I look back, sometimes in calmness you look back. I feel still sad. In calmness you look back, he had one of the fullest life which any human being can aspire to. He was born in a wonderful family and in a place which is so unique in the Indian mind. These are all very rare. You be born in a good place, but your family, so many things, and he has had wonderful teachers, which he used to remember so often. He is also rare. Not that everybody has this opportunity. Then, of course, he had a remarkable life. Certain things first, like making India the launch power, the first Indian-made launch vehicle, then missile. Like this, there are so many. If I start listing, it will be too many. Personally, for me, from 1965 to when he departed us, it is full 50 years. To compress it will be very difficult. I've written in a few places, I speak in some places, etc. To compress is very difficult. However, I am going to narrate some 4 segments in his life. It will be professionally, it will be a very, very different period type of thing. First is when he was the rockets not making rockets, but launching rockets in the Tumba. But along with that, do lot of things to make it Indian. It was not necessary. Things were coming from abroad to put it and launch. So for him, the powerful word now, Atmanirbharata, is actually a very powerful word, but we were using in those days as self-reliance. It was in him. If the nose cone is there coming from outside, yes, launch with it, but can we make it in India? Like this was going on. It is with that concept SLV3 was done. Of course, there are many senior colleagues of him, some doing propellant, some doing propulsion, some doing electronic. In most of it, it is doing in India, designing in India, making in India, and making India proud. At the same time, it is not just a simple pride. It is the pride with capability and strength. And so many young people, there were no space technology course. There is no special anybody trained. Even when Dr. Kalam and all have gone to NASA, it is not for all these things. It is only related to that launch. It was necessary because their launch vehicles are being done, their tracking things are being done, their rockets were being not launch vehicles. So overall, it was a thing which is doing, and then that vision. Of course, a lot of merit goes to Dr. Vikram Sarabhai and then colleagues, all of us we shared. Dr. Kalam also was one of them. I was a junior partner in physical research laboratory. I won't narrate every one of it, but the SLV3 was not easy because it is a denied technology. Because anybody who has a launch vehicle capability, along with that, they also get a missile capability. One puts it on the orbit there, up there, another puts it down there to a particular place. So nothing will be given. So it is in that many colleagues, many senior colleagues, others, junior colleagues, all of them work together to see, make it happen. So the Vision 1970-80 profile, which Dr. Sarabhai roughly had sketched, but which was made reality by under Professor Dhawan's time from 1972, along with that Dr. Brahm Prakash, it took place. The first was a failure. We all, always we say, keep the fingers crossed. This is a thing, I don't know where from it has come. The NASA terminologies, they will always say, keep the fingers crossed. So it was a partially successful. Then the teams did not, they were very, very bad. I can see Dr. Kalam's face. Terrible. In fact, he used to tell, 7 years of work for all of us, sweat and blood and everything which we are given, get tested in less than 400 seconds. That is the reality of launch vehicle. It is not like any other thing. In that 400 seconds, something goes wrong, you are out. Even fraction of a second. So that is the type of risk, but they all work together. The next launch was successful. It was done within a year. So that period of Kalam will be a Kalam who will be driven to do the work, passion, make it work. He will be doing it. Sometimes he will bang people because it has to be done. You can't just say being goody in a project work. You have to get things done. You have to chase it. And in Tamil they say karmame kanna inar. That is their whole eye. Everything is only on the work, action, the product of. That was on Kalam. Then of course after the success, about 2 years he has to cool off because various things which one will be getting allotted, etc. Then a wonderful opportunity came of integrated missile development program. He went off from ISRO to DRDO. He became a DRDO director, but there have been people who are director of DRDO at many centers. That itself was not enough. He was overall in charge of evolving integrated missile development, IGMDP, they call it. There, the many techniques of ISRO, management techniques and other, he took it himself. He didn't have to take too many people from ISRO, but it is in him. And they did such a wonderful job. I won't go through all that because it is available in his own writings itself, Prithvi, etc., etc. Missile, Agni, 1989. So for me, probably that may be the first poem on Kalam. SLV 3, 1980, it comes in my Nenjaga Malargal, Blossoms of the Heart. I never used to write too much of poem in those days, even though it was inherent in me. So I wrote one and then sent it to him. That SLV, that is published. And similarly for the Agni, 89. After 1980, 89. That period also had been one of the most intense he has to be continuously doing. I won't be seeing him very often, but I've seen him quite a few times. But it was so much intense, he has to get it delivered, and he did so many things within DRDO. They all will talk volumes. Maybe some DRDO colleagues may also say something about it. So then comes, during that period itself, after he finished it, I had earlier gone, I had also left ISRO, went to 88. So now I started off what is called as Technology Information Forecasting and Assessment Council. Dr. Kalam also was very happy that I went out because there my job was different. All the things which is learned is not for the space and missile technologies alone. It can be done, all the technological strength goes for everything. When Dr. Kalam says strength respects strength, it doesn't mean only a missile strength or a nuclear force or this alone. They are also very, very, very important. At the same time, many of the ordinary civilian sectors, economic sectors, whether you operate railways or whether you operate ships, whether you do roads, whether you do garbage processing, in each one of it, there can always be a technological improvement. And that was to look, that is the forecasting and assessment. I was at that time chairman of the governing council was one Dr. V. Krishnamurthy, but we used to interact very often, and we used to have some specialty leaders for evolving many missions so that to put the technological embedment, that is called missions. Dr. Kalam was responsible, even while being on the missile and doing there, etc., he was responsible for evolving what is called as advanced composite. They were used very heavily for space and defense and aircraft industry. But how can it be used for very ordinary things? I won't say too much about it because that became, in fact, when the Gujarat earthquake took place 2001, we did so many things under the advanced composite. That also was there. But that Dr. Kalam in a different avatar, he could see it fructifying there. He was very happy that he was involved in nucleating it. Now, from this, the third phase comes when Dr. Kalam's basic desire of making reasonable track for the missiles. So they will go on improving Agri 1, Agri 2, etc., etc. He knew about it. There is a productionization also, things were done because it is very important. Because in India, people often do 1 through 3, then they will declare it. Or sometimes some people do it 1 only. Afterwards, it goes off. So you have to do it on a large scale. That is why ISRO was continuously having a launch vehicle. Like this year, the missile stunts are taking place. So this one, he moved to Delhi, not for the TIFAC work, became overall in charge of the DRDO. The whole defense was much more than DRDO because he was scientific advisor to RM. I was very happy that he came. That is in 1992. After which, almost every day we used to be, I didn't do anything for DRDO, but I was doing for TIFAC, talking on many other things and sharing what India should get technological strength, etc. We used to be talking almost every day, there will be a call. So from that which started, it ended only on 25th July 2015, because around this time, 3:34, etc., afternoon, there will be a call from Dr. Kalam. I'll talk. We'll talk. It continued up to that. Then 26th, he was on travel. I was also on travel. So 27th also we could not contact. So it was that type of relationship which existed. So he became also, in addition to all the other responsibility, chairman of the governing council of TIFAC. I was the CEO. I mean, this is called executive director. There we did a lot of things, not because people know only about the Vision 2020. There are so many things of products developed. More than 300 new technologies have gone into our Indian industries. There are so many things. They develop it themselves. TIFAC gives part money. So like this, there are many which were there. Vision 2020 is a path-breaking exercise for India. The idea came from Dr. Kalam, 93. He told when he took over from Dr. Krishnamurthy, he took over as a chairman of the governing council. There were eminent people, Ratan Tata, Rahul Bajaj, and that type of people. I think maybe Ratan Tata, I'm not very sure, but Rahul Bajaj was there, many CIA presidents, many top people, Satish Chandran of the IAS. Like this, there are many who were there. And that one he proposed. TIFAC is doing a wonderful job in these 5 years. Many projects have been done. Homegrown technologies have been done. Can we now look at 25 years from now and what it will be? That was in September 1993. I still remember. That became, it has come in some of the TIFAC newsletters if somebody wants to see documented evidence, etc. So that one, it took around 2 years to formulate and then do it. Have so many people think that it is Dr. Kalam and me, we sat and wrote the book. Behind it is so much of work. In that he also used to, in spite of all the work, as a essay to RM and other things, very tight, he will come. Whether it is agro processing or agriculture with SK Sinha, with Leena Poonawala, but many of it, he will also come. I am also going to come and sit. You come and say, sir, no, you people keep talking. I will also keep hearing. So, like this, it was a deep involvement, and they were released to the nation in August 2, 1996. Then on, Dr. Kalam will be talking very much about the Vision 2020, which means in agriculture, in whether it is in agriculture, whether it is in agro-food processing, whether in many of these sectors, yeah, yeah, you put technological addition into it, it becomes actually, in the economic terms, it becomes value addition. It becomes better. Goes up, whether it is fertilizer, whether it is anything, and machinery. In fact, India is importing so much of our machine tool. In that, we are given the path. How you can add incrementally. We were very pragmatic, not to say, oh, do everything today. It is not possible. Everything has a gestation period. So, how to do those steps in the CNC, enter it into it for machine tool sector, road transport, everything, including waterways in India. The rivers are linked. No, why? Not for linked, not for necessarily for this thing, but transport will be available. Yeah, river-based transport takes 1/5 of the energy as a road transport. Energy means, we know nowadays people talk about climate change and energy conservation. That is what it was. That went on. Now I will fast forward. That was so good. He continued. So many things everywhere he was talking. And he became a PSA for a short while after a long tenure. I think he would have broken the record of becoming somewhere around up to age 68. He continued to be the Secretary to the Government of India. Very rare, doesn't occur. Then at some day, he has got a thing, that Pokhran thing got done. India declared. So we did not simply saying that no, we will not do, you do, yes. If you have missiles, you have to have that capability. That done in 2000, he became principal scientific advisor to Government of India, not just to the Prime Minister, to the whole, everything. That he did for some time, for 2 years. He wanted me, I had been in CIA at that time, and of course doing TIPAC. He wanted me, so we worked together in a number of fields, herbal, variety of them we have done. How to do, how to go about. That is in that period, the Pura concept, which came in TIPAC, Dr. Kalam advocated very much for providing urban facilities in rural areas. It is not just building one hospital, one school there. There is a connectivity, road connectivity, electronic connectivity, etc. Unfortunately, it was not done to the extent what he was advocating. Even though the government, government at the 2000, they accepted the idea and then started putting funds, but it has to be put in some form. Anyway, now I'll fast forward. Then, God's grace, I think the country needed it, is that he became the 11th president of the great republic. That's why the big journey, a wonderful, that is why I say he had a wonderful, full richness of life. Even without it, it was great achiever. Now, with this, and then going into people's president, everybody's mind. So he sat in everybody's mind. There are so many things which I can tell about it, both domestically and internationally. I am not dwelling on them. And that was a great period. Then post that also, he continued promoting basically the technological strength being built in India, along with that business opportunity. It's not just like doing in a national lab and then keep publishing paper. In fact, Dr. Kalam's life, he doesn't have too much of research papers, but he has got lot of products which have come through his leadership or through his promotion. He will tell people, come on, do it, I say. That type of thing. They have become products, and then they are being manufactured on a large scale. And that is what he was. He would like, in fact, had he been around now, this Atmanirbharata, he would be most delighted person. And we have also addressed the skills. He used to talk about the global human resource cadre. Many people forget it, they don't talk about it. That human resource cadre is, we know that everybody cannot be an engineer. Everybody cannot be in IIT. IIT will be limited. Number of people, IAS, chartered account, everything will be limited. A bulk of Indians has to be in excellent skills it may be a technician, it may be a plumber. Each one of them is going to be upgraded. You upgrade technology, you have to upgrade skill. You upgrade business management, you need that. So it is that. In fact, some of you see human resource cadre. His desire was Indians will have such an amount that anywhere in the world, because we have got a demographic advantage, anywhere in the world, okay, you want so many builders, okay. You want so many nurses, of course, are going on. So many health assistants, so many other things, so many even in agriculture. That was the vision also he had along with that. Now I can keep talking, but I am not going to say anything more. In case Sheikh, you have got a few questions, you can ask. Thank you to the listeners. I'm happy to share this.
Thank you so much for your time. I have a couple of questions. So we know Dr. Kalam, he has done a lot of serious work for our country.
I want little little bit up in the voice.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you now.
Yeah, so we have seen Dr. Kalam, very serious character, okay, and involved doing a lot of projects right from his SLV. And have you had any time, laughing time? So how humorous he was?
Huh?
How humorous he was?
No, I am not able to hear it well. Shall I mute mine? I will mute mine.
1 second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Unmute பண்ணுங்க. Please unmute. Unmute பண்ணுங்க.
You talk. I am muting.
Yeah. So now my question was, how much he was, he's a serious character we have seen, and doing a lot of great things for our country. While doing this, how he was, managing this kind of stress, a lot of responsibilities, coordinating so many scientists and laboratories. How is he able to handle that?
See, it was a continuous work. I know Dr. Kalam from thirds onwards, 65. That means he would have been 34. I was somewhere around 22 or so. We people in those days were doing work. And sometimes you may call it crazy, but we didn't have TV. Not that we didn't have. There is no TV in India. In fact, it is ISRO who made INSAT and then gave TV with so many channels. Telephones were not there. If I start telling those things, we struggled to get a telephone connections during the SLV time.
Yeah.
From one, you cannot have it. Most of us won't have, but still some critical people have to be given. So it is that time we didn't have any distraction. Of course, I wouldn't say that it was all work. They had something called Rocket Club in Trivandrum. I think occasionally Dr. Kalam, I think, has gone there. I didn't go there because I come for a launch and then do it, etc., etc. And when I came back, it was a short period. 1 year, 1.5 years. I was married and I was having children, not child, just married. So that type of thing, we were so dedicated. We somehow felt as if God has made only us to do, transform and do. Maybe it is something wrong with us, but we were doing that all the time. When we talk, very rarely we talk about even personal problems.
Yeah.
We couldn't get this. See, it's not that everything was fine. There are many things which Dr. Kalam did not get, even in ISRO. Post SLV3, 2 years, he didn't have a good assignment.
Yeah.
So like this, it is that we won't talk about it. We still say, what is ahead? What is it you can do? So that part of it was there even when he became president.
Okay.
When he became a president of India, he could have been nicely nice. It's very good. I mean, it has got its own charm. It has got so many things. But he did those. Plus also, can I go to this? When he goes to Gujarat, he goes, let us see how that disaster management which we did, how it works, how he goes to the farmers in Bihar, where we had done an extension of the Vision 2020. So that's the type of thing India has to transform.
Yeah.
And another thing is, this is one thing, that is why I said that SLV3 is very important, is because one important thing about India, I think it is true for many other countries also, is that you can't leave things assuming that everything will go well. You can't make a paperwork. Many people think that they can get every report by an email or a paper. You have to physically go.
Okay.
It has got not only a fear of somebody going to monitor you, but also it develops a rapport. Sometimes the fellows whom you visit, you find that they are lacking in so many things, but yet they would have given a very beautiful report.
Yeah.
But they get a message. So
I have another question, interesting question.
Yes.
Today we have internet. Okay, any information we want to know about it, we go and Google it, and because there are so much, Wikipedia is there, we can learn about it.
Right.
Those days, when you started as a young scientist, how do you refer things? Because something is not available as a textbook.
There are two things. One is ISRO was receiving many of the NASA reports.
Okay.
VSSC had it, we had that. It's a wonderful source of information. Even though, mind you, many of the reports will contain only up to some point. From that, you can't do everything. You cannot do everything. In fact, if I digress a little bit, all our knowledge, anybody, even today in internet era, anything which is written, spoken, record-wise, audio, video, all these are called coded knowledge. That means I can go back and then see it is written down. That in actual life works only 20%.
Okay.
Many other things are in the equipment and machineries, and I think they are called embodied knowledge.
Yeah.
It also comes from the organization. You work with a team. 5 fellows are already working, a new fellow who comes, somehow he or she starts getting it. These are all organizational embedded. What is machine embedded? If I take this PC, I don't know anything about computer, but you do so many things. That is an embodied knowledge. Then it is embodied within yourself. It is called person embodiment. They make 80%.
Okay.
So this is what it was. So even in of course, now being available in internet is very useful. At the same time, I should also caution that not just the fake news and all that stuff. Even the technical news, many are wrong.
Yeah.
Your fundamentals have to be good.
Correct.
That comes from actual doing things. If I only read and then don't do anything, oh, I will think that I know the whole world. But when you start doing something, it hits you, whether it is a computer program or even an agricultural one. So that is what it was. But now I should say currently the young fellows have got much more lucky.
Yeah.
They are able to get it fast. We used to have the NASA report. Then there was Aviation Week and space technology. There are a few things that were very costly. We were getting that. We were reading. And lot of it otherwise we have to do it by, basically we ourselves have to calculate. That's what it was.
Okay, so this is very fascinating for me. Today, everybody after +2, that is, people who want to study engineering, or some of them are taking science. And not many are interested to take a basic science like physics, chemistry, and biology. What will be your advice?
See, I don't say that they should do basic science. I am one of those, because some of our basic science fellows think that everything is in basic science. You need a lot of applied work. So engineering is a natural talent. In India, unfortunately, the science dialogue has been, the word science used by Jawaharlal Nehru and others, what you included engineering, manufacturing, even Sarabhai, he has written so well. These things were ignored, and then say, go and do science. Okay, you do BA, BSc science. You can't do any research. You may be the best person. Then you have to do MSc. Then you have to do PhD. That too proper PhD, not something to get a PhD to get promotions, but a PhD with a research work. That research work is costly in terms of time, in terms of money. You look at, I openly say that Dr. Kalam was nowhere a basic scientist. Thank God he did not get it. He might have made some excellent mark. It would have been gone. He had made a complete revolution in launch vehicle technology, missile technology, and so many other fields. There are many like that. Therefore, there is nothing harm in people becoming an engineer, whether he joins an IT, whether they join mechanical sector, etc. Natural science should come on demand. See, pharma is able to absorb many researchers because they are doing it on a large scale. We are doing it. We are 70% of the vaccines are produced in India for the world. That means some people who will know. The people who will do basic work should be less than 10%. They should be really top class. Not just because I get a PhD and then keep publishing some useless papers. Get some citation, like easy to get a citation, it's not very difficult. But what is useful? Only a few people should be beyond that. That is very limited number. So if our young people go for engineering, they are doing right.
Okay. So I have a final question for you. So now we are in a situation, okay, this COVID situation. There is a challenge here. So there are people who have gone there abroad, and due to this, this challenging situation, they are coming back. Maybe they're engineers, maybe they're doctors, and no other sectors. There are a large number of people are returning back to India. So what will be the situation here, and how to handle that?
See, people coming back to India because they could not continue. See, let us face it. They wanted to make a good life in USA or Europe or even sometimes in Dubai or Singapore. I have nothing against them. Everybody wants a better life. And India, unfortunately, did not give opportunity for many of these people, even when they were before, earlier. Many people were IITs and all that. Why did they go abroad? Those were the days of license permit quota Raj. You cannot open a small company unless you go to DGTD. Oh, it was atrocious. Whether you are in Kohima or you are in Kanyakumari, you can't start an industry. Some bureaucrat will be sitting there and 3 years. That type of oppression is still there. Our education sector is the most oppressed one. America doesn't have a UGC. America doesn't have a AICT. They don't have one pecking order saying that what is the all India list towards which you have to be admitted. They have SAT, GERE, etc. Use it. Give freedom. If that is the reason, about 10 billion, not million. I always use it. I like Bombay, not Mumbai. $10 billion have been going out in the past 15 years each year abroad. Suppose you allow even foreign fellows to open here. It's fine. Now they say that you can see those foreign companies, foreign universities, they say you can even do online.
Correct.
Why can't we allow the online here itself? Allow many educational entrepreneurs who will open, they will do. People will be ready to pay that money. Learn from them. And as far as the startup and Atmanirbharta and all that thing, unless you support the purchase by government, all the purchase rules of government are atrocious. Hopefully now they will be removing. You see, even one, I don't want to name the company, one big company was going to put an order for a telecom equipment. It will all gone to China because they write it in a way that small industry fellows will all be taken out.
Yeah.
They got their own logic. They say, oh, we want to be very safe, etc., etc. You keep on being safe, you will be safe. You will be down in the bottom. So these are the things when removed, people coming will be good. If it
Okay.
is not, it is not. And then another thing is, I don't want a new type of a caste system coming into the academy. Oh, you have gone abroad. Even now,
Even now.
IIT will prefer people who have gone abroad. Why? So you upgrade ours. You give them an opportunity. I welcome everybody who is coming in India. Even some foreign fellows want to come in India and then start a business. You should allow it. You should enable them.
Okay.
If that is done, if you give freedom economically, education, agriculture is totally oppressed. It is now we are getting one market. 70, I am writing on this for so long, 20 years. That is why I am passionate about it. 20 years, you cannot sell. If you are a farmer, you can't sell often outside your taluk. You have to wait for the district collector to say or Tahsildar to say. Do we put a control on somebody else? So if you free these things, India will do. People, even without COVID, they will come back.
Okay.
Okay? You don't have to wait for a COVID to come back. If there is an opportunity, people will come.
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir, for your time. And it was an honor to talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best. Thanks for this opportunity. In his memory, I am doing this.
Thank you, sir.